Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our evening update for Hurricane Erin as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time on August 19th, 2025. Let's start off with the latest information on Hurricane Erin this evening as of the 11 p.m. advisory, which literally came out just moments ago. Erin is still holding on at Category 2 status, winds of 100 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 959 millibars. And it is located, if you're tracking it on a map, at 27.7 north and 73.0 west. And it is moving north-northwest, so starting to take more of a northerly turn than it is moving at 12 miles per hour. And that's actually a little bit faster than it was moving earlier today. So we're also beginning to see a speed up in its forward speed. So no longer moving very slowly, and probably only going to speed up from here on out as it moves on off into the north and then northwest. Well, moving northwest still right now, then it's going to take a more northerly turn and then head out to sea. But the biggest thing of the 11 p.m. advisory is that now the National Hurricane Center forecasts that this will become a major hurricane once again. And I've said that potentially maybe this could re-strengthen. And Erin is definitely looking a lot better this evening compared to earlier today when it looked like a disheveled mess, dealing with very strong wind shear and lots of dry air, which almost completely destroyed its inner core. I'll show you the satellite image in a little bit, but Erin is starting to look a lot better now. And I really do think it maybe might re-strengthen, and the National Hurricane Center certainly thinks that, as they now forecast that this will become a major hurricane just off the eastern coast of North Carolina, where there are tropical storm warnings in effect right now, and there are also tropical storm watches in effect for portions of North Carolina and even the Virginia coastline. Erin will once again be that large of a storm. Again, the biggest issue, regardless of whether or not this will re-strengthen, is going to be that Erin will have a ginormous wind field. We have tropical storm watches in effect for portions of the Virginia coast and even portions of, well, the entire island of Bermuda under a tropical storm watch. And this was issued earlier today. But just imagine of how big of a wind field it's going to have, that all the way from the Carolinas to Bermuda, there are tropical storm watches in effect for this storm. So the wind field is going to be the biggest issue. And it's going to be even more interesting that this might re-strengthen. And certainly, you would believe that this might be trying to re-strengthen if you look at the satellite imagery for this evening. Definitely looks a lot much more like a better organized storm right now than it did earlier today when wind shear was really hitting at it hard. We almost have these convective bursts, which are now beginning to curl around the eye again. And we definitely have much more outflow now. You could see on the northeastern flank of the storm, much more pronounced outflow, and especially here on the eastern flank. Actually, this is the northwest. The eastern flank, very strong outflow. And this just overall looks like a better organized system now compared to earlier today. And Recon is actually in there right now. And they are finding that the pressure is holding steady. So not seeing re-strengthening quite yet, but at least it is no longer weakening. So that should give you a sign that this is no longer collapsing, especially collapsing like it did earlier today. And once again, I would not be surprised if this re-strengthens, and the National Hurricane Center certainly thinks that it will do so. And the other part, once again, is just look at how large this wind field is. In fact, Recon in there right now is finding flight level winds as high as 90 knots or 83 to 90 knots. And this is at least 100 miles away from the direct center of the storm. So Erin has a ginormous wind field associated with this storm right now. And once again, that's going to be the biggest thing we're going to talk about with this storm. Tropical storm force winds will be felt along the East Coast, and especially along the North Carolina Outer Banks, where obviously we have tropical storm warnings in effect. Even though the storm is going to pass at least 200 to 300 miles offshore, but the wind field will be so large that we will probably have some decent gusty winds. I think the Euro is forecasting as high as 70-mile-per-hour gusts for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and even along the New England coast, especially right here along the Cape in Massachusetts, they might even get some stronger winds as well from the wind field of Erin, because this thing is just going to expand rapidly, even more than it is already doing so right now. And obviously, Bermuda is in the tropical storm force wind speed probability. And just to go over the other impacts here, we'll have the strong winds, and with that, we'll have very heavy rain and also storm surge as well. Expected to be as high as 2 to 4 feet along portions of the Outer Banks here, especially from Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina. That's where the highest storm surge is expected. And this is going to be from the very, very high waves that'll be produced by Erin. In fact, this is from the National Weather Service, I believe, out of Newport, Morehead City. So this is the Morehead City, North Carolina forecast. And this is actually a GIF, so it alternates between wave heights and the forecasted maximum wind gusts. That's actually very cool. But you can see here, maximum wind gusts forecasted 50 miles per hour along the Cape, along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The Euro forecasts up to 70, but I guess the official National Hurricane Center National Weather Service forecasts, not National Hurricane Center. I mean, they're all part of the NOAA umbrella, but this is from the National Weather Service, up to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And that's certainly a nuisance. That is enough to cause trees and branches to snap, and we'll definitely have enough storm surge that we probably will see some flooding and some overwash, and definitely a lot of beach erosion, because look at the wave heights being forecast. Even just off the coast here on North Carolina, waves as high as 20, and even just off the shore here, let's wait for this graph to come back, 25 to even 30 feet wave heights, and that includes swells. So just massive waves, some storm surge, and some wind gusts. As I've said before, you do not need this storm to be a landfalling storm in order for it to be significant. Just because the eye of the storm, especially when we talk about the track, the eye, this is pertaining to the eye, the center of the storm, which will be going out to sea. But the center is not the full storm. We have a huge wind field surrounding it, and this wind field is once again only going to get larger, and it's going to produce impacts along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So please make sure that you are ready. Please make sure you have your hurricane plan in place. Maybe you might need to evacuate, especially if things continue to uptrend here along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And if you want to get information to know what to do, the number one resource that I can give you is National Weather Service. You use the National Weather Service site. You type in weather.gov, and then you click wherever you're located. So if you are located maybe right here in the far northeastern flank of North Carolina, just click the map, and it'll give you its respective National Weather Service office. So the northeastern flank of North Carolina, that corresponds to Newport, Morehead City, North Carolina. And they give you the list of all the warnings that are issued within your National Weather Service office, range. So, for instance, we have a storm surge warning, at least per the Newport Morehead City office. The range within the Newport Morehead City office right now, we have a storm surge warning in effect. I went over that earlier today. Storm surge warning in effect for portions of the Outer Banks of North Carolina because the storm surge we're expecting. obviously tropical storm warnings in effect. I think everybody knows about that now. Tropical storm warnings in effect, flood warnings, coastal flood warnings, tropical storm watches, flood advisories, coastal flood advisories, and a whole bunch of lists of other advisories and watches and warnings. And also, I see here rip current statement and beach hazard statement, and this probably has to do with each other related to rip currents and the very high waves we're going to have. And once again, rip currents is also something else that you need to not throw away. Rip currents are a huge impact and they can take lives. So please also keep in mind the rip currents that'll be occurring because of Erin and are already occurring today and are only probably going to get worse over the next several days as Erin churns out here in the Atlantic. And of course, to get specific information on Erin, you'll want to go to the National Hurricane Center so you can get the broader picture, like the current intensity, the cone, and also the key messages too. And I brought this up earlier today in this afternoon's update from around 5 o'clock. I brought up the key messages so you can read that to get the overall picture of what to expect from Erin. And you also have other things here like the warnings. We also have rainfall potential or the rainfall forecast, and this is pulled from the Weather Prediction Center. And they also have storm surge watches and warnings. This is the map which shows where all the storm surge watches and warnings are. And of course, we have storm surge warnings in effect right now for the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And they also give a very interesting map related to storm surge inundation. So this shows where the potential storm surge flooding will be exactly. So if you want to know exactly what areas are highest risks from the storm surge related to Erin, you'll want to use this map. So lots of resources you could use. And there's really no excuse for you to be uninformed about Erin. We have lots of resources from the National Hurricane Center to the National Weather Service. And the best thing about this is it's all taxpayer funded. So that means you're paying it with your tax dollars because, it's being produced by the government. So you have it literally for free, public, right at your fingertips. And I really recommend you to be watching all of these sources very closely over the next several days as once again, this will be a storm that'll probably bring impacts, especially if you're along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And we will continue to be monitoring Erin throughout the next few days here, obviously with multiple updates tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And also follow me on Twitter too at Danilo Evangelista because I'll be posting a lot of information on Erin there, and I post quite a bit of information throughout the day. Without having to post a video like I do here on YouTube, but of course we'll be doing those a lot more, especially tomorrow. Going to be doing multiple updates, probably another 3 tomorrow, and maybe even a live stream sometime tomorrow afternoon or evening. So please make sure to stay tuned for all of that. With that being said, I'm going to end off for tonight. So hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you did, obviously leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll be back with more tomorrow.